Hey guys, so it's Tuesday, September 7th, and I'm about a minute early, but it's my normal Tuesday live. And again, today's September 7th, which is a special day for me because today is my father's 85th birthday. So I already went by and told him happy birthday. Christy took him some stuff. So today I had a call last week, well, actually an email exchange with a woman who wanted to retain new counsel for her husband, which sort of brings up a discussion about court-appointed counsel versus retained counsel. We get a lot of people who have court-appointed attorneys themselves and want to know if they should hire us, and so the answer is not always the same. And the email exchange I had with this woman last week was interesting to me because her significant other, who was incarcerated on some very serious charges and charged as a habitual, meaning he was 25 to life, had been appointed an attorney. Now, if you know anything about court-appointed systems, specifically here in Galveston County, there are qualifications that you have to meet to be able to accept misdemeanor versus felony, state jail felony versus third, second, and first degree felonies, and then capital. So you have to meet certain criteria to even be able to accept the highest level of cases. So that means that the attorney that had been appointed had met those qualifications and was at least qualified to handle that habitual case. Now, her issue was that she had hired an attorney and did not feel like that attorney was keeping her informed, and didn't feel like maybe the attorney was being honest with her and all this. And later on in the email string, she goes on to say that she had already paid him the $500 he requested. Now, so this is a red flag. We're talking about a habitual offender, and this guy had a fairly lengthy criminal history. And, bottom line, we're talking easily a defense of $10,000, maybe more. So for her to think that she could give an attorney $500 who was going to perform some kind of miracle was just unfortunate that, she went through that. Hi, Paula. I see you. Hi, Mom. Even the person that she was calling for with his criminal history should have known that you're not going to get the type of representation that you need or want from a $500 lawyer. And it's possible that they got rid of a much better lawyer just thinking, well, if I pay someone, the result's going to be better. Now, that may be true in some cases because lawyers are like every other profession. There's good lawyers, there's bad lawyers, there's lawyers whose office is actually just the trunk of their car. You can just imagine the scenarios. And so we oftentimes get calls from family members or sometimes from the accused themselves who have a court-appointed attorney. And so when I look it up, if they have a good attorney, I tell them. There's no point in just trying to take someone's money just to take their money. So if they have a good lawyer, I tell them they have a good lawyer, and then I ask them what the issue is. Now, true enough, sometimes personalities just don't mix and two people aren't a good match. That happens, right? But it's the same thing. Like I said to you, there are lawyers who have their office as the trunk of their car. So if you have a court-appointed attorney and you have concerns about your case, you ought to be able to go sit down in that attorney's office and have a discussion with him or her about your case so that you feel comfortable. If not, if you can't do that, then maybe you should retain outside counsel if you can afford it. My office is right across the street from the state courthouse, and if we're not in court, we're here, which generally means there's always an attorney in my building willing to speak to you about your case. We keep all our information in a case management system, and we keep all our notes, all the evidence, everything, so that every lawyer in my office or in my firm can address any concerns you have about your case. If you call and you want to talk to me and I'm not here because I'm in court or I'm in federal court or in Houston or who knows. But here, what we try to make ourselves always is available to our clients. So if you don't have that in whatever lawyer you have, whether it be court appointed or retained, for me, that's something I would want, right? I want to be able to go to my attorney's office and sit down, look at the evidence, talk about the case, get his or her advice, those types of things. I would expect the same from a court-appointed attorney. Every lawyer in my office, including myself, used to do court appointments. None of us do now. But when we did, it was the same situation. My court-appointed clients, and I still have some cases from before we quit taking appointments that are appointed, and my appointed clients are welcome to come in and discuss their case anytime they want, just like my retained clients are. So, the question is, I have a court-appointed attorney, should I replace them just because they're court-appointed? And the answer is no. If you're comfortable with the attorney that you have, just because you're not necessarily paying him doesn't mean that he or she is not a good attorney. There's lots of reasons to do appointments, and there are a lot of good attorneys in Galveston County that do take court appointments. There are also some attorneys that take court appointments that I wouldn't recommend someone hire, but every person's different, and so it kind of depends on your interaction with your attorney on that level. If they're accessible to you and you think they're doing a good job, there's no reason to go find a new attorney. It's the same thing if you hired an attorney like this woman had, who now you can't get a hold of, won't return your calls or emails, or she was shopping for a new attorney. I'm just not sure that she knew what type of investment it was going to take to have a real attorney with staff, with an office, and with all the resources that we use to be able to defend, the person's case that she was calling about. And so, before the difference is when you have court-appointed counsel, you didn't get to pick your counsel. So oftentimes the relationship starts out with trust issues, right? Because as the accused, you didn't get to pick your lawyer. This person was just assigned to you. And so it's hard sometimes for the accused to have confidence in that person initially because of the way the relationship started. And there's also, out there in the jails and somewhat in the public, that if it's a court-appointed attorney, they're not really going to do anything for you. And I'm sure there are some attorneys that do appointments that don't work much on their cases. The point is, if you find yourself in that situation, you just need to try and communicate with the attorney as much as possible to see if y'all can have a relationship moving forward. And if not, then maybe you do need to look into retaining somebody. But it's the same. It goes back to, it's the same on both sides. If you're going to retain somebody, carefully vet the person that you're going to retain. It shouldn't just be about who's the cheapest that I can hire, because the cheapest that you can hire may not be too worried about the performance or the outcome or keeping you in the loop as to what's going on for what you've paid. So, it goes back to, I guess in the book that Jess and I wrote, I think we talked about this. You're going to forge a relationship with someone. And since we do criminal defense, what the outcome of your case can have an impact on you for the rest of your life, right? Obviously, if it's a felony case, your liberty is at stake. So we could be talking about a number of years in prison. We could talk about the collateral consequences of the conviction. Just everything that could happen in a criminal case could impact you for the rest of your life. So when you hire an attorney, obviously you want to hire an attorney that you feel confident in and that you feel you can discuss all your issues with and get, the answers to your questions to help you make an informed decision. And so, back to hiring an attorney, I think if it was me, I would treat it like anything else. I would go and visit a couple of attorneys in their office and see what they have to say, see what they're about. Do they have an office? If my attorney wants to meet me and asks me to meet him at a restaurant, that's a red flag. Does he not have an office? Why do we have to go meet at a restaurant? Those types of things. If the attorney has an office, is there support staff? Is there, I just want to know all these things. I want to see it for myself. And so, if it was me making the decision of who am I going to hire, I think that's what I would do. I would go visit several at their offices and sit down with them and talk to them about my case and see who made me feel the most comfortable. And it's not always going to be me. Some people, like I said before, some people's personalities just don't mix, and it's not a good, setup for these two people to try and work together. So when you're trying to find an attorney, or you have a court-appointed attorney and you don't know whether or not you should keep him or her, it's the same situation. You need to talk to that attorney, go through the same as if you were going to hire the attorney. In other words, does this person give you enough confidence that had you not been appointed, you would have hired this person? Because I can assure you there are good and bad retained attorneys. There are good and bad court-appointed attorneys. Because attorneys are human, just like every other profession, that there's good and bad, in all professions. So, unfortunately, like I said, that woman that I was in a conversation with last week, I just think that they found themselves in a situation where they had someone who was qualified, and then they paid someone $500 on a case that's very serious and going to take a lot to defend. And they're not going to get that out of a $500 lawyer. So it just goes back to what I said. Before you hire anyone, before you do anything, you need to make sure that you're comfortable with that person, before you give them your money. That's it. Oh, hi, I'm Barbara, Nanette. See y'all. So that's about all I have for today. Looks like we made it 13, 14 minutes. I know it was a short topic, but like I said, that conversation I had with that woman last week kind of inspired me to address that on here for anyone else who might be going through the same struggle. So that's it for today. Y'all have a good week, and I'll see y'all next week.